Well, hello, and everybody. Welcome to our medical update. Today, we're going to be giving you a two-parter. The first part is coming from Beth Moss, who is our face and voice of the medical team. That team met with several representatives from Session and staff last Friday, and they were able to bring to Session a recommendation about how Bethel should consider going about resuming normal activity. That meeting happened last night, but today what we thought we would do before rolling out that particular conversation, which I know is of great interest to everybody, we wanted to give the foundation for that, give you all the information that led Session to the decisions that it has made. Knowing that you all are very eager to hear that information, not just about what we're doing. And to give that information, we're coming to our very reliable Beth Moss. Beth, thanks for being with us again.
Hey, glad to be here.
Great to see you. We're just going to jump right into this, and I'm going to share my screen. While I'm doing that, I'm going to kind of pin the video to you, and then you're going to be doing the talking for a little bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the sources that we're using that helped you all make the recommendations that you made?
We gathered up recommendations from 3 different sources: whitehouse.gov, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, when Governor Cooper kind of laid out last Thursday what the steps for North Carolina are going to be. And Johns Hopkins has a decision tree for religious institutions. Okay,
thank you. And so I've pulled up the slide that you gave to us, your team, and helped Session understand a good bit. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and help us to see what are we looking at here.
Okay, we tried to put it all on one page so it's easier to understand, and we gathered all the data and kind of put it together in simple terms. There's certain gating criteria that's going to be required before we can start into our phases of opening back up the states, and this is particular to North Carolina. If you look at the very top of that, you have to have a trending decrease in COVID-like ER syndromatic cases. That's 1. 2, you have to have a number of lab-confirmed cases, either sustained leveling, which is what North Carolina says, versus the federal said it has to be decreased, but we've said sustained leveling. 3rd, the percentage of positive cases against cases that are tested needs to trend downward, and hospitalizations need to either be sustained or trending downward. In addition to those top 4 things, at the bottom of the page, your testing and tracing capacities. 1, we have to be able to increase our testing where we're currently at up to 5,000 to 7,000 a day. And 2nd, we need the ability to conduct widespread tracing. That's if somebody's positive, then someone is assigned to them a tracer that follows where they have recently been, who've been in contact, businesses, that kind of thing. We got to increase our number of tracers. We currently have 250 in the state of North Carolina. We need 500. And 3, we need to increase the supply of personal protective equipment. Hospitals are going to have a 30-day supply of gowns and N95 masks. Then we have to do that for 14 days, and then we go into the stages. After that 14-day gating criteria is met, then we move into phase 1. It doesn't look a whole lot different as far as staying at home. They still want everybody to stay at home except commercial activity. Some retailers and service implement social distancing. The retailers are going to be able to open with social distancing, stringent cleaning, and there's other protocols lined out. We're still going to stay at gatherings no more than 10. Parks can open with limited capacity. Face covering is going to be recommended for the foreseeable future. the fabric masks. Nursing home and congregate living is still going to be restricted. There's not going to be any visitation or anything in that first phase. And that's the one thing of all of them that's not going to change all through the phases. We're still going to try to isolate those people. That phase should take 2 to 3 weeks. If at any point during the phase you go back and your trending starts going the wrong direction, it's going to stall out the process. So if that all goes well over 2 to 3 weeks, then we enter into phase 2. And the stay-at-home will be lifted, but they're still going to encourage the vulnerable population to stay at home, those with over 60 years old, the comorbidities, people who are at high risk. They're going to start limiting openings of restaurants with reduced capacity. Churches and entertainment can open at reduced capacity. Nobody has said what that number is. They haven't quantified that. They just said reduced capacity. Going to allow some larger gatherings, open playgrounds, and still, again, the nursing home and congregate care settings are still going to be isolated. That phase goes 4 to 6 weeks. Then you can go into phase 3, which is indefinite. That's as high as the phases that they go. Going to lessen the restrictions for the vulnerable populations, but still encourage social distancing, increase the capacity of churches, restaurants, bars, and other businesses, and even allow larger gatherings. And that phase 3 just goes on indefinitely. This thing changes all the time, so we just need to sit back and relax and try to do our best at keeping ourselves safe, our neighbors safe.
Beth, thanks. I really appreciate the way this is put together. What are some of the key pieces that you would want people to know? Other than just the whole, are there specific things as they relate to Bethel that the medical team wanted us to pay attention to?
We as a medical team are really going to encourage, at the time that we are allowed to gather back, we want people to wear masks and do the social distancing. We really strongly discourage against any hugging or handshaking. That's what we do as a community. That's who we are, but we need to change that, at least for now. Continue to love each other at a distance. Continue to check on each other. Bethel's doing a great job from what I hear, the feedback I get of sending out calls and cards and making sure that everybody has everything that they need.
One of the questions that I get asked a lot, Beth, and I understand it, but I'd like to hear how you would answer this. When we get all this, but when? When can we see things begin to happen? Give us a date. So how do you respond to that?
We don't have a date. We have to step through the criteria one step at a time. I'm a visual person, so I have this printed at my house, and I watch the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services has a great online charts that they update every day at 11 o'clock. So anytime after 11 o'clock, I go and I check and I look at those trendings, and they're actually laid out in graphs. They're not like this graph that's all on one page, so you have to kind of go through them. But you can tell, you can look at the trending. And I looked right before we filmed this, and for the most part, we're not trending in the right direction. So in my mind, this 14-day period still hasn't started.
And currently, as it stands now, Governor Kupener's order has been extended to May 8th. Is that right?
That's true. May 8th.
Okay. So really what we're at now is current state. and does phase 1 begin on May 8th, or what happens on May 8th, do you think?
I think May 8th, they're going to look at that trending again as it approaches May 8th. I think they're going to do that ahead of time to try to figure out what they've got to do, because they have laid these out. They are the ones that said you have to trend for 14 days on those specific items. They're measurable. They're counting tests every day. They're counting positives. The hospitals are reporting how many beds that are occupied by people with COVID-19. They're doing that every day. So these are very measurable numbers.
I think one of the big standout points to me and to other elders that were looking through this when we were talking with you all is that in phase 2, there's still the vulnerable population is encouraged strongly to stay home. It's not, we're not encouraging them to be out still in phase 2. Is that right?
That is absolutely true.
So Beth, thanks for this. And what we're going to do, folks at home, is we're going to provide obviously a link to this slide so you can have it. You can print it out. It's a very well done graph. If there are changes to it, of course, Beth will let us know and we'll make those changes. You can see the date, April 23rd is the date of this particular graph. And we'll note any changes on dates in subsequent editions. But we wanted to just let you see one of the key pieces that session is looking at, guiding our conversation about resuming to normal activity. And our next part B of this Wednesday's update is going to be with an elder or two, and we're going to be talking about how they came about to their decisions and some of the encouragement they want to give to us based on what you're seeing here. So Beth, thanks for doing this with us. Thanks for all of your hard work. And we look forward to the day where we're over here in phase 3, indefinite, and maybe have learned a few things through this process that might help us to not go through this again. Blessings on you all, and just have a terrific day. We'll see you very soon with part B. Bye-bye.